My next guest says Microsoft's troubles go beyond its leader, Steve Ballmer. He says morale is terrible and the company is misfiring on everything from its mobile phone plan to its search strategy. Paul Kedrosky is a Bloomberg contributing editor and the editor of the business blog Infectious Greed. So, Paul, Einhorn saying Ballmer's time is up and he's stuck in the past. Do you agree?
Oh, I mean, I've only been saying it for a decade. So, yeah, absolutely, I agree. I mean, the fundamental problem that Microsoft has, beyond the obvious, which is that they are misfiring on pretty much every major product they have, and they've missed most major technology shifts since about 1997. So if we put all of that aside, the stock has basically flatlined since about 2001. Just for kicks today, I was playing around with Google's new Correlate tool, where you can take like one series of data and see what Google searches match up against it best. If you take Microsoft's share price since 2001, the search series that matches up best against it on Google is Google interview questions, which I thought was kind of, Google interview questions, which I thought was kind of appropriate. I mean, this is it. The problem is it's got a huge leakage of people because morale is so terrible, so they end up misfiring. All their best people leave. Guys like Vic Gundotra end up at Google, and they've got nothing left other than a deteriorating asset that throws off cash flow and sucks in value investors, bleeds them dry, and kicks them out again.
So, Paul, what's the solution? Do you think Bill Gates could come back? I mean, what would happen with that?
Oh, God, kill me. I hope Gates is, probably the biggest brain in technology, a fantastic guy and a great humanist, and his foundation is a wonderful thing. The problem is that Gates has the problem that Ballmer has, but more. And that problem is huge sort of emotional stake in Microsoft as it currently exists. All of the things that are there are theirs. From one end to the other, the entire franchise is theirs. And if you look at the history of successful technology turnarounds, the only time it tends to work is either when the founder comes back because you have a huge crisis, or Apple at the time the Jobs came back as an example, or you have a company that's completely in a mode where it has to be torn apart, where someone comes in who's really an operator and says, here are a bunch of assets throwing off cash flows, I'll sell this to this person, and this to somebody else, and this I shut down. Gates is neither one of those people. He's not the guy that comes back in because the company's revenues are imploding, because that's not happening, and he's not the guy who comes in and says, all of these babies inside this company who I once picked up and held and loved to death, I'm now going to shut them all down, sell them, or get rid of them. So he's neither of those guys. So I have no confidence that other than a little bump in the share price when he comes back because it's so exciting, if that were ever to happen, a year later we're in exactly the same place as we are today.
Paul, Einhorn agrees with all those points, I think, but he says plug your nose and buy the stock. What about you? Is he wrong?
Well, I don't see how you can do that without a major change at the top. And it doesn't sound like Ballmer's getting ready to go anywhere. He has control of the board. It's not obvious to me who's going to push him out or when that's going to happen. And if shareholders have sat there for a decade as the share price hasn't moved, why does that change tomorrow? Because David Einhorn wants it to be that way. I mean, Dave's a great guy and has a lot of power in the markets, but I don't see how he shifts Microsoft board. If anything, you're going to see more of a siege mentality from the company as they say, just wait, just watch. We can make this happen one more time. That's very much the Microsoft ethos is, we're the tough guys on the street and, put our backs against the wall and just watch as we come from the number 200 position in mobile and go back to being dominant. It's nuts, but that's exactly the attitude in the company, and that's why the morale is so terrible.
Having just ripped Microsoft for the last 10 or 15 minutes, let me take the other side of that argument. You've got a new Windows operating system coming out in the fall. You've got these guys paying a slight but existing dividend. You've got them buying back shares. You've got a lot of things going in terms of headwinds of tech spending in their favor. And obviously you've got a lot of investors. The stock has never been this cheap. Things are getting better for this company, not worse. Oh, let me add one. The Kinect and the Xbox. The Kinect and the Xbox are tremendous success there, and innovative success for a company we rarely give credit to for innovation.
But not the source of cash flow and not the reason why investors are buying the stock. You could have said all of the other things about Microsoft stock in 2001. It was cheap. There's a new iteration of the operating system coming along. Look at all the great things in the research pipeline. We've just had a change of leadership. It's throwing off fantastic cash flow. It's crashed when it came out of the dot-com bubble. And look what it got you. It got you 10 years of stasis. I don't see what's different.
Paul, who should take Ballmer's place? Do you have any specific names?
I like the suggestion of, it's been bounced around, the idea of Reed Hastings at Netflix taking it over. I have absolutely no idea why someone like Reed would ever do it, but he'd be the right guy. Someone who combines, great operational chops, a kind of dispassionate view of the asset underlying it, saying this works, this doesn't, this generates cash flow and is attractive, and this we can get rid of. But again, he's got something else under his belt that's going awfully well. This Netflix thing looked like it's panning out okay. But that's the kind of talent that you want to bring in. Someone who combines some vision, which right now Microsoft management lacks, but also has the operational discipline to say, you know what, this is what we need and this is what we get rid of. Because people forget, Ballmer's pedigree is a sales guy. He's a great sales guy, probably one of the best in the history of technology. You give him a great family of products and he will sell it around the world and not stop. But that's not the position Microsoft finds itself in.
Reed Hastings, an interesting pick, Paul. We'll have to see if that one pans out. And a reminder, you can check out Paul's blog at Bloomberg.com.